How on earth is this bounty hunter one of the coolest characters to come from all of Clone Wars? He's the silent but deadly type, being the only character at the point of his introduction to speak a completely unknown and unique language. He's a crackshot sniper and a hand-to-hand combat specialist with insane agility, and he has this sick hat that doubles as a secret weapon. He's able to throw it at enemies and it knocks them out and bounces back to him. He's also able to use it as a shield, and to top it off, at one point he uses it like a snowboard to chase Anakin and Padme down a mountainside. He single-handedly fights the entirety of Bad Batch and ends up saving their lives, and he has this pet Anooba as his sidekick that runs into combat with him. These things are gnarly, not to mention his extremely fast reflexes and nimble movement make him extremely elusive for those close enough to try. This character is so overpowered from Aurra alone that I can't believe that he'll be stealing the spotlight away from Mando and Baby Yoda. They did the same thing with Cad Bane in the Book of Boba Fett, but they changed him in the live-action representation of his kind a lot. And since Embo's creation, there have been others of his kind that have made their live-action debut, but it seems like Embo's appearance will be much different, and unfortunately, it already seems like just this appearance alone retcons two things about this character, and I couldn't help but jump at the opportunity to talk about this guy now that so many new eyeballs will be introduced to him for the first time through the Mando movie, and I thought it's only fair that they should get the opportunity to truly get to know how awesome this character is, just in case his appearance in the show is for some reason a cheap cameo that doesn't do him justice. Because he deserves the spotlight. I hope we see him in more projects after this, and I really hope that they do him justice, because Embo has quite the reputation. He's already cheated death on his first appearance, he's single-handedly defeated the Bad Batch, he's taken on multiple Sith in 1v1s, he kidnapped Palpatine, besting Anakin and Windu, he almost steals the Millennium Falcon from Lando, and he was even on the planet of Jakku during the massive battle that took place before The Force Awakens. And what he does earns him a full pardon for all of his crimes from the New Republic themselves. But before we go down the rabbit hole of the absolute legacy of this character, I just want to appreciate the abilities he has. His hat is one of the more unique weapons, acting not only as a statement piece, a signature calling card of this character, but also as this multifunctional piece of equipment. It seems to be made out of a material that is used for armor, most likely Durasteel or possibly a mixture of Beskar as well. Similar hats are seen on the others of his species, but Embo's seems different. He seems very different compared to all the other of his species. Using his hat to absolutely destroy his enemies is so awesome, and when he wears it, it gives off the coolest look, hiding his face in the shadows with only his glowing yellow eyes looking back at you. He also wields a heavy crossbow that he uses from long to close range, but oftentimes if he's close enough, he switches to dealing with things in hand-to-hand combat. But one of the coolest things about his first appearance is how brutal he was, straight up killing pirates on this kid show. I really hope they don't soften him up for Disney, but he made a crazy debut in season 2 of Clone Wars in a tribute from George Lucas himself to Kurosawa's Seven Samurai movie. They named his species, the Kyuzo, after the character from the movie the episode is based off of. And like the character in the movie, Embo was also supposed to die in this first episode. They actually showed the entire thing with him dying, and everyone's reaction was so shocked and sad that he died. They introduced this awesome character and then he's just gone? And I know Clone Wars is notorious for that, but this character, he was just too good. So they ended up rewriting the ending of the episode and had a different bounty hunter die instead of him. And that's the ending that they ended up airing. And I'm so happy they did this. Filoni himself ended up developing this unique language by picking up one of his editor's French children's books he had around the office for his son that would come in and read them. He picked up a Smurf book in French and started intentionally pronouncing the words wrong, and that's how this language was born. And then he just continued voicing him and didn't tell any of the other cast. No one knew it was Filoni for the longest time. And since then, in every appearance he's ever had, he's only spoken in his native tongue of Kyuzan, which I really hope they keep this for the movie. It's always weird seeing Hutts speak English or Basic, and I would assume that's just so the broader audience can understand them without subtitles, but still. This is such a cool part of Embo, his unique dialect. They just need to keep it the same. It's awesome. There are 2 times where we are able to actually hear what he's saying being translated, which is really cool, and it makes it seem even more like he's just a chill guy. After his debut of working with the other bounty hunters to protect the farmers on Felucia from pirates, we next see a small cameo of him hanging out at Jabba's palace before we see his next big appearance in the Box arc. This is when Dooku gathered the top bounty hunters in all of the galaxy to put them through a gauntlet of challenges to figure out who the top 5 most impressive were. Embo of course is here, and Dooku himself says he was ranked second best bounty hunter of last season out of everybody, right below Cad Bane himself. Bane definitely got the spotlight much more in Clone Wars, and he's a great character in his own way, and they already did the same thing they're doing to Embo, where they bring him into a live action project to try to get all the previous Cad Bane fans, all the Clone Wars viewers, to come check out this other project. And as cool as it was to see him walk around in the live action world of Star Wars, I was really hoping they would have stayed more true to his character. Bane is a Duro. We've seen what they were supposed to look like in A New Hope, and they chose to tone down all of his alien features to help adapt his emoting to a human face. But they also took out the blue color of his skin and shrunk the oversized hat down to a normal one. I mean, I just hope they stay true to Embo. But apparently, the Kyuzo have already made their live action debut. Yeah, that's right, in Force Awakens. This background character that is visible for 5 frames is the first Kyuzo in live action. Apparently, this is some behind the scenes at what the character actually looks like. Similar to Embo, at the very least, but not nearly as tall and slender or agile. This guy actually got his own short story before the film came out, as well as his own action figure. And this specific Kyuzo actually learned Basic and speaks to Rey without any translation. But still, it seems like they created a puppet to go over an actor's head to keep everything practical here, which is awesome for a background character. But in the new Mando trailer, we can clearly see Embo approaching Mando's house on Navarro, and at night too. This means a confrontation of some sort. He's been hired by the Hutts in the past, so it seems like that might be the case here as well, but I doubt they're going full practical with Embo. This one shot we see of him looks like a completely full CG replacement of whatever actor was on set portraying him. I mean, his proportions aren't necessarily human to start with. His arms alone and his high torso are so distinct to his character that if you try to go full practical, you're going to make him look a little frumpy, kind of like this other Kyuzo. I know he was born into the cartoon world and he's definitely older at this point. This will be 30 years after we last saw him in Clone Wars, but he's an alien. Yoda was 900 and Chewbacca was 200. The Kyuzo have a lifespan of around 200 years too, but we do see that in a later encounter with him, he's noticeably older, but even though he's aged, he hasn't lost his edge. But after the Box arc, where he survives this crazy gauntlet and ends up helping kidnap Palpatine, we see him appear in the Mos Eisley Cantina, and for the first time, we see his pet Anooba he named Marrok. We see him in another episode as a quick cameo, but then, after, we don't see him until Maul, Savage, and Vizsla go after the Hutts, and the Hutts have hired Sugi, Embo, and the others to protect them, and we get to see them hold their own against literal Siths. It's a really crazy fight, and 1v1ing Savage Opress is not something that many people have walked away from. They are defeated and barely escape, but his next appearance might be one of the best ones besides his introduction episode. In Season 6, Palpatine hires Embo to help frame Clovis for the banking clan's corruption, so Embo needs to get Clovis out of hiding, and opens fire on Anakin and Padme as they're talking with him. He pushes them to his speeder along with some help from Marrok. Embo shoots it out of the sky, and it falls to the mountain and starts sliding down. Then he immediately jumps off his perch and uses his hat to snowboard down the mountain after them. This chase is just so cool and feels so unlike anything else they've done in the show. I really love it. But then we see this sick chase just play out for a couple of minutes where he's following them down the mountain and even does it backwards. And at one point, he's inches away from taking out Padme, which is crazy. Marrok here at the end is adorable too. I really love this duo. But after Clone Wars ended, he had a brief appearance in the Dark Disciple book from 2015 where Ventress hires Boba, Embo, and some other bounty hunters to help her rescue Quinlan Vos. And then 2 years later, he pops up in a comic where he's taking a bounty on Lando Calrissian right after the Return of the Jedi where they blow up the second Death Star. Embo gets knocked out here by a bursting pipe and Lando ties him up and escapes, but this is all being talked about because years later, Embo retires from bounty hunting and he goes back to Felucia to become a farmer. And I wondered why Felucia, but if you remember, that's where he was first introduced to us. What if he lives just down the road from the village of farmers he protected and is friends with them or keeps an eye over them from a distance? This is so wholesome. but someone comes looking for the Falcon and tracks him down here. But the same year, Aftermath Empire's End comes out, where he takes on a bounty on Jazamari, who just happens to be the niece of the bounty hunter that Embo used to work closely with, Sugi. This is a really cool story. It takes place a year after the Battle of Endor, and he ends up coming face to face with Jaz, and since she learned his native tongue because she spent so much time with him as a child, she speaks to him, and we're able to hear what he's saying for the very first time. We learn that his Anooba, Marrok, has passed away, and Joss remembers cuddling and playing with him as a child. They get to talking, and Joss tells Embo that she knows he has debts he's trying to pay off, but Sugi and Embo, they used to help people. They always did the right thing, and she knows that upset the wrong people. She reasons with him, and he tells her that he's old, and that Marrok always liked her, and then he lets her go. And later, when they encounter each other again, she convinces all of them to help her instead of turn her in, and they start a new crew together. She then gets them a full pardon from the New Republic, as well as some credits to replace their reward. And I really like that in this book, for the first time, we got to see what he was saying, and a little lore behind him and Sugi's relationship. And we get to see that he was friendly towards Amari when she was a little kid, and this just makes me love Embo more. Now, in 2019, we see a small cameo from him on a job with some other bounty hunters, and then last year, in the Bad Batch comic, so back in Clone Wars era, we get a lot more of Embo. Mace Windu has tasked the Bad Batch with hunting down and retrieving a list of Republic undercover spies that was just stolen. And along the way, they encounter Embo, who seems to be going after the same thing for how valuable it is, and they keep bumping into each other along the way until eventually they face off and Embo 1v4s all of them. He almost beats them too, except at one point he blasts a hole in a pipe, filling the room they're trapped in with water. They stop fighting and Embo tells them that he can pick the lock to get them out, and they let him help them. After they convince him to join them so they can team up getting the list, since they started, they realize they're fighting against Aurra, an IG droid, and Ventress herself. They need to stop fighting each other and work together if either of them want to get close to the list, and so he agrees to help them, and they ride this water dragon off into the distance together, which is kind of funny. They eventually catch up to Ventress, and Embo doesn't hesitate to take her head on with Marrok by his side. This gives Bad Batch a window to escape and cut Aurra off before she kills her first target, but Embo taking on Ventress alone is really cool. Somehow he survives yet again and manages to escape. But when we see him in Mando, this will be the oldest we've ever seen him. This is 4+ years after the Battle of Jakku. It seems like here he has another Anooba at his side. Since Marrok died, I guess they're implying that he got another one in his later years. I mean, maybe. I think they're just including an Anooba here because that's how everyone remembers him. And I guess just the same, he's also come out of retirement and left his farm on Felucia to go back to bounty hunting. I'm sure they don't have a problem changing things for movies and shows just because that's their first priority, but I really hope that his appearance in the movie is true to his original character. He deserves it. And with this looking like a fully CG replacement, it's much more promising than Bane's appearance was. But I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. I don't think he'll be part of the main plot, but more of a side character that the Hutts have hired to capture Mando, it seems. I just really hope they give us some great action, but I worry that they're not going to let him be cooler than Mando. But who knows? I'm not opposed to an Embo project. Granted, that would be difficult due to him only speaking in Qzon, but still. Tell me in the comments what your favorite Embo moment is and if you think he should get more screen time in the future. It'd be pretty cool if he ends up turning and helping Mando and Baby Yoda, but thanks so much for watching, and I will see you soon in another Star Wars video. Peace.